Hi, I'm Dr. Slanina. I'm the author of The Adventures of Annie Mouse children's books. And if you're not familiar with them, this is Annie Mouse Meets Her Guardian Angel. And there is Annie. That's the first in the series. And this is the book I'll be focusing on today, but I'll show you the covers of my Guardian Angel series. This is Annie Mouse Meets a New Friend. There she is on her farm, enjoying the scenery of the beautiful landscape. Here she is when she is having an encounter with leprechauns. This is another Annie Mouse adventure where the rainbow touches ground. And this is Baby Brother Goes to the Hospital. So these are all part of my Bibliotherapy series. I am an early childhood development, literacy, and gifted child education specialist. I have previously taught both in the early childhood and reading classrooms and have spent 25 years in teacher preparation programs at higher ed level. So one of the things that I have encountered in my many years of teaching is parents' frustrations with their children's behavior. And as a mom too, I had the same issues with my kids. And I wish that everything that I know now, I knew when my children were younger. So I hope that this video can help some of the young moms today that think that their children are terrible behavior problems or can't get things under control. So one of the things that I want to talk about is children's perceptions. Children's reasoning is vastly different from adults, and we often forget that because today it seems like the young children are so incredibly mature that we talk to them just like adults, and we forget that they don't have background experiential knowledge. And that gets us into trouble sometimes. So I'll give you an example of this. I once had a mom tell me that her 3-year-old was distraught, believing that she had killed her grandma. And what actually had happened was the last time the little girl saw grandma, she refused to give her a hug and kiss. And grandma says, "Oh, you're breaking my heart." And shortly thereafter, grandma died of a heart attack. So this child actually believed that she was responsible for killing her grandmother. So these are the kinds of things that, and the child had been throwing tantrums and crying uncontrollably, and the mom could not figure out what was wrong, why she was suddenly this terrible behavior problem. So that often is what's happening. There's so much that our young children are exposed to today that they see on TV or they hear people talking, and they are developing their own reality. And one of the things is that perceptions are reality, not only to young children, but all of us. We might come in the middle of a conversation and we think we know exactly what's going on, and we come to find out much later that we totally misinterpreted the whole thing because we didn't hear what came before. Well, young children are no different, but what is different is that children see things that frighten them and often don't have the ability to ask questions. They just become very frightened. And when young children become frightened, they act out. So we have to understand that, especially in children 2 to 7, this is a very common problem. So what we think is a behavior problem, we just have to take a step back and not let our emotions get out of control. We have to find out what has frightened a child. So I want to show you a couple things in my Annie Mouse Meets Her Guardian Angel book. In this particular book, Annie believes that when her mom yells at her, that it means that she is not loved. And here is a picture of how Annie sees mommy. She just sees mommy screaming. And it might just be one time, but that's the idea that Annie gets in her head, that mommy is just screaming all the time. And that is another common stage of child development. they will focus on one aspect and they don't see anything else. They see it, but they just don't focus on it. So Annie is not seeing all of the things that mommy is doing for her. She's only focusing on when mommy's yelling, and she is not seeing when mommy is doing everything else for her. And she doesn't see when mommy is getting very, very tired and exhausted. She doesn't see, she's a young child. She doesn't see that maybe mommy needs some help around the house. And she just thinks that mommy doesn't love her. Mommy's yelling because she doesn't love her. So this is a book that is to be read with your child to help open up that discussion about misunderstandings that your young child might have developed. And it's also a reminder to parents that at the end of the day, no matter what terrible day that you had, it is so incredibly important to scoop that little one up, tuck them in bed, give them a good night kiss, and let them know how much they are loved. Because